Live. Not yet, bud. I'm on my live video. Thank you for the reminder, though. I gotta do that at exactly 4 o'clock, okay? Dante's my sous chef. I couldn't remember the glaze that goes on pork. I'm having a hard time with cooking and remembering stuff. So I stood there for a while and I eventually remembered. So then I told Dante the second I remembered, because one, who knows how long that would last, and two, then I have to remember to do it, right? So this video is on God's tests, right? So or just as a period of testing, whether it's God, the devil, whatever. Who knows where like your test is coming from? I'm not gonna get into that. So anyway, God sees your heart of the issue, right? And if you, let's say, are a husband, no offense, guys, to just assume the husbands don't do dishes, but if you're a husband that doesn't usually do the dishes, some do. Bill always did the dishes for Sandy. But if you're one of the husbands that dishes isn't something you do as often as your wife, let's say you do the dishes for her because you're in the doghouse or she like snapped at you for it. That's going to be very different for her when you eventually do the dishes versus if you did it out of love and it didn't come to that, right? So that's what just an example I'm giving you guys of doing something and like where your heart is and what the motivation is and why it came to that, right? So God's tests are like that, right? Because we're in a relationship with Jesus. So during these tests, it's not enough to be obedient. If we are doing something, it has to align with our heart and our mindset, because that is what really matters, right? That's why they even say it's the thought that counts. So let's say during my test, and I know, okay, I have the fear of God and I'm a Christian, so I have to obey. So I'm just gonna stay doing the right thing and press on and blah, 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 because I know God's real and I have to listen. That's very different than being in your test and just God being able to see my heart, because, you know, he sees the heart, and him looking at my heart. Okay, Ash, you're doing the things in obedience, and I appreciate it, but you're doing it with anger and resentment in your heart for me, but you're doing it with a very negative mindset, but you're doing it and you're not getting the lessons and the full experience and the joy, and you're not praising me in it. You know, so there's a whole part to it. You know, Mr. Bill, Sandy's husband, would always call it the yeah buts, you know. So anyway, I'm going to give you a little story, and to just show what I'm doing in part of my test, right? And the mindset that I'm having towards it. And then I want to give you guys the real life scenario so you could understand the depths of why this is hard for me, right? So I've been a single mom for 18 years, supporting my kids without child support, and I have them for 365 days a year. So this house that we're living in now is the very first house I've ever been able to rent with my kids in their entire life. There was twice I lived with a guy, and he had a house, and, you know, it's his house. It's very different, especially if those aren't the relationships that God put in your life, right? They're ones you chose. So this house that we live in now, is the first house I ever got to rent with my kids, and I had a really great income, and I was so excited. I went to Ashley Furniture, which is literally right on the corner from where I live, and I picked out all my furniture. I picked out, the sectional couch, and I had wanted to do a beautiful dining room table set, and I picked out a bedroom set. So I moved here from a 1-bedroom apartment because that was all that was available in all of Geneva at the time. So I took it to get my son in the district and get us moved over here. So I didn't have any bedroom furniture, and we only had the one bed frame, whatever. So my room now is literally a mattress on the floor, nothing else. I had this beautiful Ashley Furniture set picked out, and everything I picked out, it was going to be the very first time in my life that I've ever bought new furniture, that I ever picked out just what I wanted, and it was all the furniture that I'm like, hey, when I go to buy a house one day, this is the same furniture I'd want in my house. So even though it was expensive, I was going to get all the warranties that they literally replace it for any damages and everything. It was going to get delivered, set up, and it was very thought out. And, I look at furniture all the time, so I was very satisfied with my decisions. And it wasn't a dream at this point. It was, I had the means to buy every single item I wanted, right? So all this to say, I ended up losing my job right before moving in. So that meant everything I picked out, the whole vision I had for the house, and the experience of, hey, we're moving into our first house and we're going to do it beautifully. And I was going to get everything for the greenhouse and the yard and the grill and the smoker and the patio set and, everything. It was going to be, our first house, and I was going to set it up just exactly what I wanted, right? So, and then also I bought the Christmas tree I wanted my entire life this July. I've always wanted a flocked Christmas tree, a 10-foot flocked Christmas tree, literally forever. I never bought one. This July I bought it for like 75% off. And thank God I did. So this was also our very first Christmas ever being in the house, right? That I had the stairway. Had the stairway with wrapped in the garland, and I had this vision. We were all waking up in our bedrooms, and stepping out of my beautiful room, and we were all walking down the stairs in our matching pajamas and coming down to our first Christmas with this huge tree that was going to be covered in all the custom ornaments I had been making, and I was just super excited. And then I get a $2,000 Christmas bonus a few weeks before Christmas. So on top of all that, I was gonna be able to do this wonderful, wonderful meal, like the best, Christmas meal, and have Mom and V here, and get everyone all these gifts that I had already written out of exactly what I wanted. And that was going to be my first Christmas, right? And it was just like, thank you, God. I couldn't have planned this better, And losing my job changed this whole experience, right? And now I'm super sick. And while I'm in this test, I could have anger or bitterness, or I waited so long for this, why, like that scene, like, Stella, I forget where it's originally from. I think it's like a Shakespeare or whatever. The Simpsons remade it, but I think it was from like some sort of Shakespearean something, but I don't know. So you guys are gonna have to look that up on your own. But so I could, do all that, and I could have this grief, right? I could have let that make our first Christmas here like a rant rant, but instead, it was the most beautiful Christmas we ever had. It wasn't, centered around gifts, but it was centered around love and family. And my mom and I got to make a beautiful Christmas meal in the kitchen, in my wonderful kitchen with my huge island, and talked the whole time and laughed and had like really, really great quality conversation. It was the best Christmas meal we ever made. Amber's spiritual dad was here. I was able to give him something that really expressed my gratitude and love for him being in our lives. And I just had a wonderful Christmas. And the kids had friends, and it was just absolutely wonderful, kind of like that, the original cartoon, The Grinch, and the Who's, and when the Grinch takes everything and he's just like, there were no gifts at all, yet they held hands and they all, sang anyway, and the Grinch's heart grew 2 sizes. That was my Christmas. It was just, that scenario. You guys fill in the blanks. Anyway, so it didn't rob me of my joy, and God was pleased with my heart and my love, and I walked with Jesus, and, it was great. And then, the home, me having the greenhouse that I've prayed for my entire life, I could have been, and I can't physically do anything, and everything hurts, and I'm so tired, and I can't even stand up, and how do I have this greenhouse I can't do anything with? And instead, every single time I'm discouraged, I walk to my kitchen, I look out my window, and I said, God, you answered my dream. You're going to make me functional. This is a sign of hope. Every single time I'm like, will I get better? I look at my greenhouse and yes, I will. And I'll be working that greenhouse, and it's going to be amazing. And, the thing is you could take these things and your perception could be this heartache and grief, or you could come in alignment with what God is doing and what God is showing you, and partner with that proper mindset and heart, and just still see this is a message of hope. And my house, I have no idea when I'll ever get it set up or be able to buy the furniture I want, but I have a house, I have a yard, I have the first house we've ever rented, and God timed it that I got it before I lost my job. I had already paid the deposit. So it's not what I envisioned as far as setting it up and, being all into interior design. But now besides the YMCA and church, I'm home. I can't work. I can't go out in public places or do anything. I'm home, and I have no schedule, and I have no work or anything to keep me busy. And I can't even really do activities all that much because I'm just in bed and in too much pain to do anything when stuff moves. And if I stand up some days, it feels like I'm instantly going to faint. So I just have to lay here. A bunch of other things that keep me in bed. So, I have the space now to have a beautiful environment that if I'm going to be home all this often, I have a beautiful living room to sit in. A beautiful living room with French doors that I absolutely love. And I could see my front door from the living room, which is where I live. And, it's so warm and cozy in here, and it's not anywhere else in the house because I need curtains up and there's no insulation. So I gotta put up like old school drapes like in the castles. Line the walls with Mylar blankets. So if you guys come here and all my walls are lined with Mylar blankets, it's not that I'm like doing some weird alien crazy stuff. It's literally to try to warm it up. But anyway, imagine going through this and not having a backyard, not having a porch, not, you know, my old apartment, it was up 40 stairs. I would have never, ever, ever been able to leave. And in fact, I wasn't able to leave at all. Like, it was like I was Rapunzel minus the beautiful hair, because I'm going bald, and the prince. So I just called it my tower, because there were times I could scooch down on, you know, my butt, and then there were times I didn't even have enough strength in my upper arms, and too dizzy and too bad a vertigo to even do that. And I literally was just a prisoner in my apartment, and it was a small 1-bedroom, you know. Dante wouldn't be able to have friends over, and I love that he could have friends over and be distracted when, you know, I can't be much entertainment and stuff. So it's like, it was still the hugest blessing of our life to get this home. And the entire downstairs, I could use my wheelchair and my walker. I could fit through every doorway. I could walk in every part of the downstairs, and even the downstairs bathroom, I could fit my wheelchair in it and spin it. And some of the hospitals, you can't even do that. You literally have to be pulled out, and like you're just stuck facing the toilet till somebody comes back and gets you, you know. And sometimes you're sitting there waiting, because after you pull the cord, it's not a 30-second thing all the time, you know. It's a hospital. So sometimes you're sitting there for a few minutes, just, you can't wheel yourself, you can't move, and you're just staring at a toilet, and you're like, all right, well, you know. And again, it's about perception, because one person's nightmare is another person's dream. If you had magic powers, right, and you went to a paraplegic, someone that had an injury that they'll be paralyzed the whole rest of their lives, or someone with cerebral palsy, and if you told them, here's a little dose of what the pain is you'll feel if you choose to have the ability to walk, but you'll be able to go in and out of walking. If you told them that and even let them feel it, they're crying and praising God, and they're thank you, and they're taking it. And they're taking it with the most gratitude in the world, and they're not caring. They're just like, thank you, God, that I could walk or move or stand or swim or run, you know? So my nightmare is somebody else's blessing. And yeah, I go in and out of being paralyzed in wheelchairs, but I go out of it. Some people never go out of it. Do you know what it would feel like, you know, the days? And actually I do, because I didn't know if I'd ever become unparalyzed before I was diagnosed. So there were times that it was just like, I wish I could stand up just to talk to someone eye to eye, or not have to do this, or just to stand and stretch, or, you know, just get that motion on my hips just to take a walk. Like, you really want to not be in a wheelchair when you're in a wheelchair. And I get the hope and that peace and all that yeah, I'm in a wheelchair at this moment, and then there's days I'm not, you know. Not everyone has that. And when I was in the wheelchair and not knowing if I would ever get out, it was to the point that it looked like I was gonna need one of the motorized one, and like the straps to set up, because I couldn't hold up my spine, and I could only move my wrist, so I couldn't wheel a regular one. So that's what I thought, you know, the rest of my life would be, because I've never heard about being paralyzed and unparalyzed unless it was like a stroke, and then people learn how to re-walk. But I didn't have a stroke, right? I just all of a sudden couldn't walk. So it seemed because it wasn't from an accident, like it wasn't going to be reversible. So I do know that feeling of thinking you'll never walk again or dance again or swim again. And that's way worse than walking in pain or in and out of walking. So just remember, you know, your nightmare is somebody else's blessing. And, you know, I hope that puts things into perspective for some of you. And, you know, the days that I was feeling exhausted and I was at work, I would say, God, I'd rather be exhausted at work coming to this amazing job with amazing people in the building that I love seeing and friends I get to smile at and cheer up my day than not have this amazing job and be rested, you know. So everything that you're complaining about, or kind of like not even complaining about but thinking in your head, like, it could be worse. And the alternative, you would pick what you're going through now, thinking it's bad, not knowing like it's really good in comparison to a million other alternatives and scenarios, right? So that's all I got for you guys. And yeah, so just keep challenging your perspective. Keep, you know, just everything you think, challenge yourself to say, is there another way to see this? Something you feel negatively about, or something bothering you, or something that is just on your heart, and say, is this, you know, as bad as I think, or is there just a solution? And a lot of times there's solutions, so there's that too. But have a great Sunday, and I will see you guys on Monday. Going back to the YMCA tomorrow, so super looking forward to that.